Hi everyone, welcome back. So continuing our conversations regarding Christ consciousness and whatever entails in embodiment of Christ consciousness, one of the most common questions I've been getting is, can you still do magic rituals and spells even when you embody Christ consciousness? Or similarly, they're asking, how does this affect your rituals and your alchemical processes in whatever you're doing? Because if you were to visit my website, you will see that I still offer spells and rituals. And I also offer products that are amulets, apothecary items. So this is the questions I've been getting. Okay, so let me trace back to some things that I said about embodying Christ consciousness. It is the energy and the shift of this energy that made me realize who I and what I was working with. Because you see, for the longest time, whenever I'm casting spells, besides the fact that we have tools, apparatus, different kind of items that one would use on their altar, and also with regard to working with different deities back in the past, I actually have an altar. I had an altar. No, I'll still say I have, because they are still there actually. I've not gotten rid of them. See? So this ties into the fact that I'm saying, no, I'm not Christian. So I'm not doing the whole like, thou shalt not be worshipping other deities things. But I don't want to confuse anybody. The truth is, my altar for Aphrodite is still there. My altar for Hermes and Thoth are still there. And my relationship with these deities had never really been one of worship. Okay? I will say that there is a level of devotion, but it's not worship. I'm devoted to the energy that is in flow and aligned with these deities and gods. So that was what I was doing for the longest time. And I know deep down that there was never a real... Okay, if anybody who believes in the Greek pantheon, I'm not here to offend you. And everybody has their own way of feeling energy and spirits and deities. So I'm not saying whatever I believe means it cancels out what you believe. But I will say this is my belief. I believe and I know that there was not in history an Aphrodite. And there was not in history a lot of other pantheistic gods. Okay? If there were, clearly it was not documented. And I'm not here to dispute if there was or there were not. But I am more likely to believe that these pantheistic deities had been put on that panel of deities due to the archetypal energies that they represent. That is my belief. My belief that is aligned with hermeticism, in fact. So even when I say I believe in Thoth, I believe in Thoth's teachings. I believe that it aligns with hermeticism in the Kabbalion. So these are beliefs. And my practice is built around this set of beliefs. So even when I have Aphrodite, sorry, my tenses are all over the place because I don't even know now whether to call it had or have, but okay. So even with Aphrodite, with Hermes, and with Thoth in place in my home, in my vicinity, I do not worship them. I do not give my, when you worship, you are giving a piece of your soul's essence and energy into that worship. So I will say, no, I do not worship them. However, I flow with their energy. I embody the energy for the most part in the past. And I believe that it is with being aligned and devoted to the energy that I'm able to do my work. And so that was how I bring energy into my work in the past. Again, like I said, it was really not a very intentional shift, or at least not one that I'm very conscious of. When I started to enter into, so I had my Kundalini awakening, and that was definitely opening up a very big component of the heart chakra, which opens up that altruistic, compassionate department of my soul and spirit. And thereby, the embodiment of Christ consciousness came during that time. without me even realizing, oh, I have shifted into that embodiment. I still thought that feeling of channeling compassionate energy and light energy into my work comes from mostly Aphrodite. In fact, those who have attended my workshops and have worked with me during the, I'll say somewhere between June till November last year, would recall I still bring Aphrodite into my work. But as I was doing those work, whether it's spells and rituals, holding workshops, teaching and conducting spells and rituals with others, when I bring light and clarity into even some love-related emotions and relationships and self-love related work in coaching, I really often think it was Aphrodite. But at the same time, I know that when I call in that energy, when I try to embody that energy, it was something else altogether. It was, if you want me to define for you, again, this comes from psychic senses. It's something I find it hard to define. However, it was flowing in a very different way. And it was, in fact, being put out into the work in a even, it's like I cannot contain it, yet it flows so generously. Almost like a river flowing with no dam. In fact, I think I might even say that I did not need to call the energy, right? If I was working with Aphrodite, I need to call in that energy. But after a while, I realized I actually did not need to, and I almost forgot that I need to call in energy, and the energy was just flowing with me. So I realized there was that shift, and I was still practicing magic. I was still doing, in fact, the work that came out, if you were to ask me, often people, when they have a spell being cast, the one good way, as with most metaphysical, as with most spiritual work, the only way to see if it works is to see it work. And I can say that the success rate and the clarity and the purity quality of the work was even more than ever before. So this honestly got me into a space where I was truly confused, because I thought if I were to embody Christ consciousness, wouldn't it be offensive? Or wouldn't it be offensive to God, to Jesus Christ, if I am a sorcerer, a magician, as what the biblical text would have it? And then I realized, oh, I must not confuse Christ conscious energy with Christianity. And that's why I repeatedly emphasize, no, I'm not one who studies the Bible. It's good to know some scriptures, because I will go into that in a while. I will emphasize why. I will explain why. But I'm not a person who lives my life by the book, by the Bible. I'm not a Christian, and I'm not gonna burn the moment I walk into church. It's really not like that. That's why. But the thing is, I decided, okay, maybe calling myself a witch is a boundary and a label that might limit the perception of what I'm doing. I'm still doing tarot readings. I still bring in clarity, wisdom, and guidance through the embodying the energy of Christ consciousness. It is that very energy and that very light that I channel that can give me the quality of my work, as with the way I conduct my spells and rituals. But I realized, okay, if I were to broaden this, I do not need the label. I do not want to call myself anything. If it's so, sorry, Stewart, shh, it's okay. Stewart, it's okay. Sorry. He's a teenager now, so, okay. Again, I'm saying, so I would like to explain this part, because a lot of people who, I'm sure A lot of spiritual workers are serving the community in their own way. So a lot of us, a lot of you are trying to embody and channel the light and the love frequency to its highest degree, and of course perform your work in your best way. And I do get people asking, will I get to embody Christ consciousness if I'm still a witch, or I call myself a witch? Why not let me turn this other way and say, when I was still called a witch, and in fact today, if you call me a witch, I'm not offended. I'm just saying some people, they don't even know I dropped the label, so they still call me a witch. But what I'm trying to say is, when I'm still called a witch, I embody Christ conscious energy. So it's not like it won't come to you. You can't have it. It's not something that you know what I mean. You don't have to be like, all go to church and get baptized to have it. Okay, but I will be much more specific now to say that there is a very stark difference to how to embody this energy. I think I explained it in my former video, but I want to mention one more thing today. I think I just recall. In the path that we all walk in this lifetime, the cosmic rule denotes that there are some very specific paths that you would walk, and that specificity of the path, it's not like it's more like a rule, the specificness of the rule. And then of course your path varies in whatever way in the subset of that rule. So what are these rules? One is, are you living a life and walking your path with service to self? Or are you walking a path in life and with purpose in service to all? If you notice, I did not say service to others, because, and I'm going to explain this part, service to self, I think it's not hard to understand. It means that you are living a life whereby whatever you do, the decisions you make predominantly are centered around, how does that serve me and my purpose and my cause? It's more egocentric. It's more service to self, like it says. I just want everybody to know there is no right or wrong. There is no better or worse. It simply is a choice. It's like a person attending school, a person attending college and choosing the major. And the major will denote whether they do more of this or more of that. And whatever they do, whether it benefits them more or it benefits everybody more. It really is not a matter of morality, and I'm not going to go into morality now, but I know the way it sounds, but just hear me out. Service to self or service to all. Now, service to all, as it says, I'm not going to say service to others, because when you serve others, if you serve in a way where you sacrifice yourself like a martyr, or basically it's mindless sacrifice and then you service to others, that's not what we're going for. So when I say service to all, it is really more like when you serve others, it serves you at the same time, but you are not placing yourself. So that's the altruistic path. Okay, so you can hear now, one, service to all is the altruistic path, whereas service to self is the more egocentric path. Either way works. It is a matter of choice. We all have free will in this life for a reason. Okay? I'm not going to go into details about karmic energetic imprints, but that's for another day. I just want to say that today we are hearing this because the clarity is here. When you do a service to self path, which is egocentric, you are working things out on your own, because it is me. How do I do this? How would I do this? How do I get there? Because I would do it a certain way. How would I have something if I were to be a certain way? It's all the I, the me is the anchor here. Whereas service to all, it's literally the all. Not AL altruistic, but ALL, all, right? We're talking about a path where it is working for a larger consciousness, a consciousness that embodies all beings as one consciousness. With that said, that's when you come closer to embodying the energetic frequency of the Christ consciousness energy. And that's how I got into that space, because this all ties back in with the heart chakra being open during the Kundalini awakening. So before I lose my train of thought, this is me, classic me, okay? What I'm trying to say is, when I came into embodying that energy, I realized I was still labeled a witch, but I always have been a magic performer, a magician who believes in the altruistic way. And I know that this is, like, again, open market, open choices for everyone. There are many spiritual practitioners who would provide for customers a very specific desire or need or requirement, right? In all areas of life, love, relationship, career, money, you name it. I do come across more selective, more curated with who I work with, because I believe that the alchemy of one's life is not to solve one problem with an instant fix of whatever you want right now. It's like, to put it quite simply, a lot of people do not know what's best for themselves, because it is the ego speaking, it is the shadow self speaking on their behalf. So I rather work with an individual through those aspects of themselves and helping them know themselves on a much deeper level before we bring it to conclusion. What truly do they need in their life? And that is how I offer my services. There is coaching involved, there is guidance involved before there are the modalities such as tarot reading and spell work and everything that entails. I don't just jump in, hear what they want exactly, give them the price and wham bam, thank you ma'am, get it done. I'm not like that. Which brings me back to, yes, I still perform magic, but I am very selective and very guided with anybody who wants to do this work with me. It's definitely a bit more time consuming and effort consuming, but it's worth it, because my core work is spiritual alchemy, is soul alchemy. Okay, so I hope this answers the question to whether you can still do magic when you embody Christ consciousness. Yes, you can. Proudly, I will even say. Now, the methodologies, how does it differ? Yes, to some extent, yes. I will say that I find myself gradually not needing my tools that much, because it is a lot of embodiment in my essence and myself. Any tools I have are very ceremonial purpose filled. If I intend to be ceremonial in my work, I will be able to exercise. I will and I can bring out the tools and use them. But everything has its own meaning, and I do not lightly just do a ceremonial performance for the sake of ceremony, for the sake of the look of it. More often than not, in order to bring the purity of the energy in for the work, the prep work is a whole lot of meditation, transcendental meditation, where I go into deep state of communicating with spirit and source. Because for me, that prep work is absolutely important in order to be guided on how the work should unfold. Literally, my game plan of making sure the ritual will work and come to fruition is actually the prep work. So there's a lot of meditation, a lot of consultation, communion, and communication with spirit during that phase. Something that I do not do that much when I was working with the deities. The other thing that's different is that when I was working with the deities, I would actually invite them into the circle, invite them to the work, to the presence of my ritual. Not only do I invite them, I will also call the energy in, because with respect, it is the archetypal energy that I am inviting in. It's not me, it's not mine. It is, I have to be grateful and request. So I would call it in. What makes it different now is that when I embody Christ conscious energy, it flows within me. And it flows freely to me and through me. It grows every day. So I don't call it in. Neither do I need to invite Jesus, if that's what you're thinking. I embody it already, but there is that prep work I was talking about. Because in order to be receiving the purity of this anointed energy, and the ordained energy rather, I need to keep myself as crystal clear as a channel as possible, right? The vessel has to be clear to contain that purest form of energy to its maximum capacity, like fill the tank, literally. Fill the tank. The tank is always there. The fuel is always there. I'll put it this way. If you were to, I'll put it in metaphor, like if this is, if I am a car, okay, if I'm a vessel or a car, the tank is always there. And because the vehicle is headed in the right direction, so by God-given grace, the tank is always with fuel, good fuel. But it's not always full. Sometimes it's very full, sometimes it's not so full. But when I'm about to get into a ritual work, or any kind of work that requires this much of this energy, I will have to go into a prep period, which is why I am often in recluse now, because my prep period is intense. And to fill the tank with the best fuel to full tank, and that is what I always would do nowadays. But other than that, I would be taking a break and not trying too hard. Okay, I'm still human. But this is the biggest difference, right? In terms of embodying or channeling the energy and then, keeping the energy and then putting it out. Now, putting it out, if I were to do my work in the past, to channel the energy then into whatever amulet or enchantments or whatever spell I'm doing, there's a pushing out the energy into that work. It's still pretty much the same, I would say, to put that energy out there. But again, I don't really use a lot of my tools anymore. My wands are ornamental now. Not that they are not good. I just don't find that I need them so much to bring the energy into whatever I'm doing. Also, I don't really use a lot of crystals. Yes, I still do in the amulets that I enchant, in the enchantments. I still put energy into the crystals. If you might be thinking, are we talking about having, once again, is this a matter of carrying objects that are infused with whatever spiritual entity? I'll put it this way. I'm infusing it with the pure light energy of what I embody through the Christ conscious work, the energy that I put into whatever enchantments and amulets that I am providing. In the past, it would be energy from the different deities or spirits, but now it is Christ conscious light energy. Okay? And so that's the difference. Now, I still do sigils, because the sigils are seals in other formats, and I still use it as a form of imprinting the spell into whatever I'm doing as well. Sometimes I do sigil, sometimes I do seal, sometimes I don't. It depends again. Okay. What else is different or same? So again, the altars being still there, it's not like they're there because I don't do the, even when the altars have been there the whole time for the Aphrodite, Hermes and Thoth, it is really more a remembrance that they are the deities I work with. And now that they're still there, I don't just get rid of them just because, I don't have that whole Christianity thing going where I'm getting rid of all these statues. They are not offensive. They still remind me of my work and how I began because I embody the whole gratitude of my process and my journey. I don't feel like I need to be throwing things out just because, and I'm not going to the swinging to the other extreme, if you know what I mean. But I'm not the type that actually bring offerings and libations to the statues, because again, like, I don't do the whole worship thing where you know what I mean. I don't do those offerings. So it's not been that way anyways for the longest time. It's not going to make a difference now. So I hope that explains the process and some of the little nitty-gritty things that happens in my daily life as a magic practitioner, as an alchemist, as a tarot reader. Yeah, so everybody has their own path. I find it still fascinating that my path is written this way. I feel grateful. I feel grateful to be on this path, to be working in this energy and through this method. I do not know how many people in this world operates just like me. If you are and you're watching this, please reach out in the comments. I would love to know, because like I mentioned in my last video, I said for a while I was a bit lonely because I felt like I am in no one's camp. Then I'm being reminded I've never been in anyone's camp anyway. Even when I call myself a witch, I was not a witch that has like a coven. I'm solo. I operate through gnosis. I operate through my own connection with the divine and source. I've never really needed to have like a camp or like a group or posse, whatever you call that, in my spiritual work. So why am I suddenly needing it? So maybe it was just me feeling lonely for a bit and needing conversation because I've been in recluse for a bit. However, that said, I am grateful. So I started to shift my mindset from feeling like I am in no one's group or camp, and then now I'm just saying, okay, it is all about the service to all. It is all about the purpose, and let's just keep that in mind and walk that path, and work through the grace of this energy and serve. And so I'm happy in this space now, which is why I'm back out providing as much information as I can. If you are also walking a similar path like me, do reach out. I would love to hear from you. Now, I just want to drop a little nugget of heads up info. I'm thinking of going into podcasting. I want to have more conversations with others who are in the spiritual space locally and not in Singapore. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how and who I'm going to be speaking to about what. How am I going to... what's the objectives of this podcast? It's not like just two persons sitting down and having a chit chat. There has to be some kind of objectives and like to provide things that people want to know more. So again, reach out. My contacts are all in the you can comment, or you can directly contact me in the description. Sorry, my head is all over the place. So yes, this is all I have for you today. Thank you for watching this video and spending your time with me. So I'll see you at the next one.